What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Value Podcast, where valuable people attract people of value. I'm Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. I focus on preparing, evaluating, and giving you the tools you need to maintain healthy relationships. Today, I'm here with the genius, the mastermind, the marketing guru, the systems.
Appreciate it, man.
Marquel, man, I want you to introduce yourself, man. So, I mean, you know, how would you introduce yourself? Would you with the trumpets come blowing and then?
Nah, man. I'm gonna tell you something, man. I was telling somebody the other day. I was telling my therapist actually that it actually makes me, when people are like read my bio,
Yeah.
it kind of makes me cringe. Like, not cringe, but it kind of makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
Because I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't really get into a lot of the hoopla.
Right.
I'm Marquel Russel, lifelong entrepreneur, love entrepreneurship, obsessed with entrepreneurship and marketing, and learned the hard way. Dropped out of high school in 10th grade. Started selling drugs at a young age. Started catching charges at a young age. Had a son at a young age. But you know, by the grace of God, bro, I'm here. Been able to impact a lot of people. We've been able to help our clients do almost $500 million in, revenue for their businesses. So we're just having a lot of fun, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. We kind of share similar stories in terms of the upbringing, like, because I was in the streets, dealing drugs and involved with all types of nonsense. And then, obviously, I try to think of an answer, but I can't think of no other answer. But God literally snatched me out of those environments and then began to restore me, and still is restoring me in a lot of areas, you know what I mean?
100%.
And since you even mentioned that, like, I saw you was doing something with the youth.
Yep.
Tell me about that real quick.
So basically, I work with this partner. I'm part of this program called Next Level Boys Academy. So I was doing my own thing at one point, but it was never like any follow up. So I used to do an annual event called Young Wealthy Genius. It started off called I'm Breaking the Cycle, and then it turned into Young Wealthy Genius. And I'm actually had ET come in one time. We were speaking about E earlier to come speak in the whole nine. But after the event, it was never really any follow up. The last one I did, I kind of was structuring the program, but then I kind of just got off the whack with it. But I ended up connecting with my guy Gary. Shout out to my guy Gary Davis, Next Level Boys Academy, and he's just doing some amazing work. Like, he's helped young black and brown boys prevent over 800,000 years of prison time.
Wow.
So young brothers, we be rocking with was facing 300 years in prison, 60 years in prison, 70 years in prison, 100 years in prison. Didn't kill nobody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they can actually get, they can go through the program, the Next Level Boys Academy program, versus going to prison. So I was like, man, this is amazing. So I just joined forces with what Gary's doing, adding my entrepreneurship piece to it, and just teaching them business. Because, a lot of times if you're in the streets, I mean, you understand business. Yeah. You just don't really know how to, channel it. So,
man, that's dope, man. I gotta get plugged into all of that, man.
Oh, for sure, bro. For sure.
So we're talking about relationships, because people already know when they tune into this podcast and they viewing this, I'm talking about relationships. And the language or vocabulary that you hear a lot of entrepreneurs talking about is, securing the bag, pursuing the money. So what numerical value or numerical percentage can you put on to the time you spend, I would say, going after the bag or pursuing money?
What numerical value do I put on?
Or percentage. What percentage could you put on that? Like the time, in terms of a week, a month, a year?
Of going after the bag?
Yeah.
So, to be honest, bro, I'm not even, as I grew, because, growing up, you're coming up, you're like, hey, you chase the bag, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you really, anything you chase after runs, right? That's just like a natural law. If you see, like if you whether you're approaching a girl, they're typically like, whoa. Like if you're too hungry, or like if you chase after a cat, it's gonna run unless it's got a different kind of cat, and it's gonna be like, whoa, what's up? You know what I'm saying? So I don't really operate from a standpoint of chasing the bag. It's like you attract value. So I create value, and as a result of me creating value, I attract the bag.
Ah, okay, that's a different angle on it right there. Let's do this then. Like, what percentage do you spend on adding value to the relationships in your life? your business, your family, your friends, and then even your significant other.
100%.
100%.
Yeah. So I tell people, relationships are more valuable than money.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Relationships are more valuable than money. Most people cross themselves out of valuable relationships for the bag, but not understanding relationships is like time.
Okay.
It's more valuable than money.
So would you say you got currency relationships? Because I use that terminology. Like I got currency relationships, meaning there's certain doors and certain platforms that I can stand on, or doors I can go through
based on the relationship.
Based on these
that
relationships.
Relationships that get you in situations money can't get you in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No amount. In some situations, no amount of money can get you in. But a relationship will. A phone call, a text.
So can you recall one of the, I guess a move you had to make, and it may have required money, but you really needed that relationship?
Bro, everything, bro.
Everything.
Man, everything in my life, from the streets. Like I tell cats, like, so I'm into music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the newer music, you hear cats talk about ran off on the plug. That's a cat who don't understand relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, where I'm from, you get a plug, you're going to do right by the plug.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a relationship you don't want to mess up. That relationship can open up so many more doors. So I always value relationships, even as a young person. It's like, your word is everything. Mm-hmm. Integrity is everything. It's like, hey, you rock with us, we all rock. Ain't no one-on-one fighting or nothing. It's like, I've always valued relationships. And yeah, cause like so I had this thing where I'm from in Atlanta, right? We have this thing called a face card. It's probably the same up north.
Oh, you from Atlanta?
Yeah.
Oh, I know you're from Atlanta.
So yeah, so it's like your face card, right? So I tell people your face card is more valuable than the black card.
What do you mean by that?
So when somebody says your name, how does that make people feel? It's like what are people saying about you in rooms that you aren't in? That's your face card.
Right.
Like, you can have a lot of bread, but if people be like, I don't know, bro, I wouldn't rock with, here's what happened. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? One thing, like one bad review, we'll call it, eliminate everything. I'm gonna give you an example. I was at an event one time, and this young lady was speaking about this strategy, and I was like, I might hire her to do. Some of my clients were sitting next to me. Before I even thought it or said something to them, they were like, hey, we hired her to do some stuff, and we still waiting on it to get done 6 months later. I was like, whoa. That point, I'm like, oh, I'm good.
Right.
Relationships.
Right. Man, but so what's the black card?
So the black card is the American Express black card. You know, the unlimited boy, right? It's like, okay. So the black card is the unlimited boy. It's like,
so you connecting that to relationships.
100%.
Nice.
Yeah, because the relationship is more valuable.
Nice.
Yeah. When I didn't have no money, I could still move around because I had relationships.
Right. That's the importance that I try to stress, because you got entrepreneurs, you know, and I rub shoulders with a lot of prestigious entrepreneurs. I'm sure you have. For sure. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of financial language, you know what I mean? And I'm not against that. I want people to be super wealthy
100%.
beyond the stars, like limitless. But I find that we put a lot of, and this is your language and your type of vocabulary, a lot of systems in place to attract clients, to attract or to have this revenue stream or profit. But why do you believe we don't have the same energy or the same focus or the same wherewithal or ingenuity to put systems in place to have valuable relationships or sustain our families, whether it be significant other, brother, cousin? You know what I mean? We still fighting against our brother. We still fighting against our cousin. I hate my aunt and I can't get along with my mom and my dad is this. But you got all the systems in place for your business.
So I think of one thing, man. That's why I love one of the reasons I love what you're doing is, to be honest with you, man. There's not really a lot of resources that teaches you how do you cultivate relationships. Like, how do you cultivate a relationship with a young lady? Or how do you cultivate a relationship with your child? You aren't really taught that.
Yeah.
They don't teach that in school.
Yeah.
You know, that's not really a topic of conversation. It's like, people like, oh, if I got money, I can manipulate anything I want to manipulate. And that's not the case. Some people like, if I got money, I'm going to chase this bag. And I'm doing this for my kids. But a lot of times they're like, the kids ain't even really interested in that. With my kids, we can go anywhere in the world.
Right.
And you know the only thing they want to do? If I be like, hey, what y'all want to do today? You know what they want to do?
What's that?
Hit the pool. We could be anywhere. We could be in Egypt. We could be. It don't matter. Yeah. We could do anything, whatever excursions y'all want to do. They'd be like, let's just hit the pool. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But we'd be like, we chasing the bag then for the kids, right? I was talking to a client the other day, and we were talking about legacy,
okay,
and growing your business, and she was like, well, I want to do the legacy, so I'm building my business, and they were talking. A couple of my clients were talking about how they had their kids involved in their business, but they weren't really doing right, and they were like, well, I'm doing the legacy, I want them to have, and I'm like, your kids most often don't want your business, so now you're trying to build this thing up to give it to your kid, but they don't want it.
So I mean, let's talk about that because you got a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's almost like and sometimes it can be manipulated onto the kids or forced. Mm-hmm. Is that a problem?
Force what, like entrepreneurship?
Like, not forcing entrepreneurship, like forcing the business. Like, because I hear people saying that, like, oh, and then after this is done, my kid's gonna take it on. Yeah. And the kids may not have no interest.
The kids most likely don't have an interest. They most likely don't. Especially if you're doing really well. Most people, if you're doing really well, your kids aren't even gonna have the same drive. Because they ain't had to come up like they didn't have to.
But that's the language. Like most entrepreneurs is like, yo, and I'm gonna pass this on to my kids. What if your kids don't want to do that?
They most likely they don't.
It's almost like you're doing a disservice to them.
It's a good chance that your kids don't even want to be entrepreneurs.
My daughter doesn't.
You see what I'm saying?
She wants to be a singer and an actor. It's some form of entrepreneurship, but she doesn't want to be in the vein that I'm in.
No, if I ask my 6-year-old right now, sometimes he tripped me out. He'd be like, he want to get a job working at Dunkin' Donuts. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
what? I mean, do you say anything like that?
No, I don't trip out. I don't. But I'll say something like, why not just own it?
Yeah.
And he'll be like, I just want to work there.
Well, I guess at his age, you probably don't really understand the depth. Yeah.
So I expose my kids to entrepreneurship, even with our entrepreneurship class I do with the youth. But I don't force entrepreneurship on them. I'm like, hey, this is entrepreneurship, and this is employee world. I don't think either or is bad. Yeah. I think you just need to know what you're signing up for.
So with the market in mind that you have you implemented any of those? Like, have you had to implement, or do you implement any of those strategies? Because I mean, the way you think is very strategic into your relationship with your wife.
So yeah, so I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I always tell people, like I tell my clients, I'm like, look, man, I don't give relationship advice and I don't give parenting advice because I'm learning. Yeah. Right. I recently this year hired a marriage coach. Right. I mean, because you invest in business coaches, personal trainers. So I hired a marriage coach. I hired a therapist. Right. Been working with a therapist probably the past 4 or 5 months. I did some therapy last year, but we did a couple sessions, and she was like, "Well, no, you're fine. I don't think I need to give me your money." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I ended up connecting with another therapist. So we've been rocking for a minute. So my therapist is for me and my personal work. Okay. Right. That's my personal work to bring back to everything that I do. The relationship coach is us working together as a duo. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I didn't grow up around like marriages. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was growing up, I had 2 of my partners who mom and dad was there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I didn't grow up. I wasn't really taught like how do you be married. You know what I'm saying? Like how do you get married? But it's like how do you be married though? Like I'm like a more of an internal person. That doesn't really work really well in a marriage. Yeah. So I process internally. I kind of deal with my own stuff. And that doesn't really work really well in a marriage.
Nah, it doesn't.
You know what I'm saying?
So you're not very assertive. Like, are you assertive in telling your wife, yo, this is what I want? Not in it, because assertive is, some people take that as like you're being rude or something, but it's just you being able to express your desires.
So I'm learning how to do that more effectively, right? Right. So like, how do you do that? How do I share your emotions? Because, we were taught to suppress your emotions. So if you go 25, 30 years and you've always learned to suppress your emotions, you get married, it's like, oh, you'll never talk to me about nothing. Yeah. It's just like, I don't really know how to talk about it.
That's interesting that you say that, because you would think, people would think from the outside looking in, the way your mind operates, he's strategic, he's got the client attraction, and he got the systems and all that down in place. But when it comes to this area over here, it's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to process. I don't really know how to. It's a lot going on at one time, because like I live in my head a lot. Even as a business person, strategic, I live in my head a lot. So it's like, and especially I'm more on the introverted side, and my wife is more on the extroverted side. So it's like navigating that, and then navigating that with my kids.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, I didn't have nobody like, hey, I love you, or you know, and being intentional about that. So me being more intentional about that, because I'm like creating something new. My dad wasn't around growing up, so I ain't really. How do you dad?
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it? Like, it ain't no book. What works for you and your kids may not work for mine. What works for Dave's kids or whoever may not work. So it ain't really no like system to it. So when it comes to marketing and human psychology, that doesn't change. Like, why people buy, that's never changed. It's just digital now. But even back in the day when it was just like mail order stuff and stuff like that, human psychology, what makes people buy, how to move people, that's never changed.
Yeah.
Now, so you can use the same advertising system, but when it comes to dealing with human beings on different levels, you can't really. It's not the same. You feel me? So if somebody say, "Hey, this works for my lady,"
it's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Some of the blueprint can be implemented. Like, my objective is to get to the point that you are with the marketing mindset and the relationship avenue.
Yep.
You said something. I had to bring my phone for this. You said, I heard you saying this on your on one of your interviews, that people have the desire. Fastest way to get them from their current reality to their preferred reality. You know what I'm saying? So that, in relationship wise, that spoke to me heavy, because people have this. Their current reality is, my relationship is jacked up.
Yep.
Now your preferred reality is, I want it to look beautiful.
Yep.
And so in your example and what you're talking about now, that's kind of like the transition that you're taking place from this marketing mind to this is how I want my relationship to look.
Yep.
Because that right there is the bridge and the ability that I have to take people across.
Yep.
We do this exercise, and I do this with couples. And since you said your assertiveness is kind of low, it's called the wish list. And so, say you're sitting with your wife and you make a wish list of 3 things. She makes a wish list of 3 things, and you may have something on there where you say your wish list, like, I wish that when we went out to family and friends home, that we didn't have to stay as long. We could just stay for a couple hours and come home.
Got it.
And then she would repeat what you just said. She would repeat what you said to you, and then you would say then you would tell her how that would make you feel if that wish came true. And then vice versa. She would tell her wish and go back and forth. Right. But what that's teaching you guys is how to be assertive and open up, because those conversations are hard to have.
Yeah. And it's like, where are you taught to tell people, like, this made me feel this way?
Right.
You feel me? So I'm going to give you an example. My mom passed probably about 6 years ago now.
Okay.
This year for my mom's birthday, because it always gets weird around my mom's birthday, even it's been this long. Birthday, Mother's Day gets really weird for me. This year was the first time I took my son, and my other son is 8. I told him, like, hey, around this time of year I get sad.
Okay.
This is my first year ever communicating that.
So this year, the first time you ever said that?
That way, like,
wow.
Identifying myself as sad.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? How I'm come up, you're like, you don't tell nobody you sad.
Wow.
Like, you just don't. Like, you don't. So it's like, but I learned that through therapy and through the, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, so that's that. I think that exercise you gave is game changing.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how it made me feel. So for example, even my relationship coach, they were saying just what you said. It was like, don't necessarily talk about the action. Just talk about how the action makes you feel. But it's like, you don't really talk, like, how do you communicate that?
Yeah, you know, that's crazy, because I have the same. I had to overcome that, because we grew up similar. Like, in the neighborhood, it's like, first of all, you're almost forced to be hard. Yeah. Even if you're not hard.
You gotta be.
And I was saying that, like, internally, I was like a happy guy.
Right.
But externally, it was like, nah.
You gotta be.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you soft.
You know what I'm saying? And then when you begin to express your feelings, it's like, it even feels, first of all, it's weird to people that's listening, or awkward to them.
Yep.
Then it's awkward for me.
Yep.
Like, when I had to retrain my mind with a whole new vocabulary, like, this made me feel this way. It almost feels elementary, but it's so much power in it, man.
Yep.
I can see like entrepreneurs coming up, we going hard, we grinding, we doing all this, but this particular area of our relationship and our communication with our partners is kind of like you just said, I can't bring this. How do I bring my grind mindset into my relationship? The language is different.
Yeah, it's totally different.
You made me feel like this, and then you're being vulnerable. Yeah. That's interesting. That this is the first year you said it made me feel sad.
It made me feel sad. I get sad around this time.
Wow.
Straight up.
So these two words pop up into my head right here, man. What do these words mean to you? Quantity and quality.
Quantity to me is like the amount. Quality is more so, without using the same word, the value of that amount, right? So it's like, for example, from a client standpoint, it's like you can work with a ton of clients. So we talk a lot about the low ticket and the high ticket clients or whatever, right? Based on the price point. So like you can have a ton in terms of quantity, or you can have a smaller amount that pays you more and you can serve them at a higher level and they're more quality clients. So do you want a ton, right? Or you want a smaller bit?
Which one is more important to you in terms of relationships? Because a lot of people, I was saying this on my last podcast, we are in a society now where even in terms from a marketing perspective, it's like the more you have, for sure, the better quality of life you have.
Yeah.
You know? So from your perspective, like, to some extent, I just don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that either, because more is, I was just talking to somebody the other day. I think I was talking to my therapist about this. More is a moving target. So let's say, for example, you set a goal, you want to make $1 million this year. You make $1 million, you ain't even gonna really celebrate like that in most cases. You're gonna move the target. You're gonna be like, all right, let's do $2 million. Telling you. You hit $2 million. Okay, cool, bad. Okay, cool. Let's go for $5 million. It's just a moving target.
So now that you say that, does that impact our relationships? Like
Absolutely.
with men pursuing women and women pursuing men, it's like, okay, if I can get all these women, then I ain't really got to settle down with one.
It depends on what you want. You feel me? It depends on what you
want.
want.
Most people don't know what they want.
Most people don't know what they want. Most people want what other people want.
That may be because most of us are chasing quantity, not quality. So if I want what other people want, you're chasing their quantity.
Yep. Because based on how you perceive it. Because like a lot of times I tell people, like, you compare yourself to something that ain't even real. Like people be comparing themselves to cats on Instagram. A lot of it don't even be real.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah.
But this is real. This is a real conversation, man. Like even when you open it up talking about you hired a therapist, like that needs. And here's the thing, I'm not jumping on a therapy wave. I've been in this vein, man.
For sure.
But I think that should be the normal conversation,
100%.
especially amongst black men.
Yeah.
We should be able to have that conversation and feel comfortable, not looking at dude like, man, you heard dude talking about he just went and got a therapist. Sure. Like, man,
entrepreneurs should have a coach and a therapist.
Automatic.
100%. You should have a coach and a therapist. Off the rip.
Is it that serious?
100%, because it's like it's your mental health.
Yeah.
Like how can you have a trainer for your physical health, but not a trainer for your mental health? So you got to have a team.
Yo, the bag. Oh, you know what? This just came to me. The bag is blinding.
100%.
The bag is blinding, and I know people watching this or listening to this. They like, especially my certified 150% bag chasers.
100%.
Because here's the thing, I have the opportunity as a relationship mechanic, when I sit with some of these individuals, whether it's the procedures from the guttermost to the uttermost, when I sit with them one-on-one and get them quiet, or we just walking, or we sit in the park, or I'm on the phone with them, even my dudes back home in New York that's getting that money and chasing it, when I talk to them one-on-one on the phone, they're hurting, man.
Yeah.
They got the bread.
Yeah.
They got bread for days, cars for days. But when I talk to them, their mental stability is cracking and falling. It's not a knock. It's just that, like you said, nobody's told us.
No.
And so when I'm one-on-one with them, having intimate 1 hour, 2 hour conversations, I'm like, wow, man, like, yo, I'm here for you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, but when you see them, you wouldn't know that, because the external image that we're putting on, sitting in the Lambo, just like, yeah. But it's like, yo, deep inside, my man is falling apart.
It's how you numb out. It's like you numb out. So it's different kind of like a sedative, kind of like not a sedative, but how you cope, right? So it's like some people cope with, all right, I'm gonna get up and chase the bag. Yeah, I know everything going. I know my life falling apart. I'm gonna focus on getting this money. That's how I cope with this. Some people cope with drugs. Mm-hmm. You know, some people cope with drinking. Some people cope with different women. Mm-hmm. Right? People just cope different ways. So it's like people can build their identity up. Like if I get money, I got the Lambo, I got the crib, I got this, I got that. But you still hurting. Mm-hmm. You still sad. You still lonely. But you don't really know how to deal with it.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. For those that are watching this, man, and listening, and I told you guys, I give you tools to maintain healthy relationships. I think one of the most powerful tools the word that is a tool that I keep hearing is systems. Yep. Like we have systems in place for everything else. Mm-hmm. We need to have a system in place for our mental health. 100%. We need to have a system in place for the significant other that we have in our life, the man or the woman, yep. For our kids, for our immediate family. We need to have systems in place for that. Yep. So today, I don't know where somebody is that's watching this or viewing this. I mean, watching this or listening to this. I think you should stop everything you're doing. If you working on a system right now for your business to make $1 million mm-hmm. and don't have a system in place for your mental health, you need to stop right now.
For sure.
And start forming a system for that. So
success is a system.
So man, go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah. Every whatever you doing this podcast right now, it's a system to it.
Yeah.
Like once it's done, you got pre-production, production, and then the post-production, mm-hmm. and then the marketing of it. It's a system to it. You ain't just jumped in here and was like, hey, let me grab. Yeah. How you ordered the mics, how you got the mic set up, mm-hmm. all that was a system. Yeah. So it's like whatever you want to accomplish is a system. If you cook, how you go in there, how you prep the greens, how you prep this, how you make your smoothies. Maybe you make your smoothies and you get this out, you put the water, boom, boom. It's a system. So whatever you want to accomplish and be successful at it's got to be a system for it. And big businesses are called SOPs, standard operating procedures, right? So mm-hmm. if you want something to go smoothly, you got to have some kind of SOP in place.
I'm using that. I've heard it before, but I'm using that. So standard operating procedures mm-hmm. and systems for your relationships. Marquel, if you could look at the people right now, and for those that are also listening, and we're talking about relationships and value, what would you encourage that young man, that young woman, that older man, that older woman to implement today into their lives?
In terms of
bringing success into their relationships. I think it really boils down to getting clear on what you want, right? Like legit for yourself, because most people want what other people want. I'm gonna give you an example for me personally. Okay.
So for me, I used to want like a dumb house, crazy different wings, and it's like I don't really even want that now. Mm-hmm. I stay in my same crib. I mean, we can rent an Airbnb or something if we wanted to, but it's like, do I even really want that? Mm-hmm. I used to want, I can go get a lamb truck or I can get a Bugatti or whatever, but it's like, I just think I wanted that because I seen it mm-hmm. and just to film it from it. But like once I got clear on like what I wanted, mm-hmm. you know what I'm saying? And I'm still evolving.
Yeah.
But like you get not comfortable, but you get to a place of peace and ease versus always like it's kind of like a swan. So I heard so a swan is like beautiful on top of the water, mm-hmm. but like under it, it's like
it's crazy.
So if you don't got a system in terms of your relationships, whether that's with your kids or whether that's with your spouse, I mean, it's gonna eventually break. That makes sense?
No, that makes perfect sense, man. Whew. Man, I appreciate you jumping on here, man.
For sure, bro. I appreciate the invite, man.
Where can the people find you at? How can they get in touch with you? And just let them know, man.
Yeah, so basically, I'm Marquel Russel on all social media. So MarquelRussell. So if you hit me on Instagram, shoot me a DM. Let me know you was on here. I'll give you a special gift for reaching out. Also, if you're like a coach or you're a consultant, you're a service provider, and you want more clients, you can go get the Paid Ad Playbook, Paid PAID adplaybook.com. Shows you how to get 50 to 100 leads every single day that convert into clients. You can get that for free. And just reach out. I'm a real person. I like to have conversations, like to connect, like to develop valuable relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, reach out.
That's what's up, man. Listen, man, it's the Value Podcast with valuable people, attract people of value. Also, I want to give a special shout out to my sponsor with the clothing, Defy the Odds. This is their gear that I'm rocking. Salute to you guys. We out of here. Peace.